And how do you do? This is the Beer Whisperer. I'm coming at you with an interesting beer, Champagne Velvet beer. Champagne Velvet, the beer of $1 million flavor, 1 pint, Pre-Prohibition Pilsner, 5.5%, 29 IBUs. I'm not going to read from their website word for word, but the basic gist is it was meant to be not necessarily an exact pre-prohibition recipe, but the style of the time. And at the time, this one does utilize some corn. Why is it better than a macro lager? Well, that's a good question. Again, a lot of breweries at the time did use corn because corn was very plentiful. And their website basically they say when it was used to just balance out the flavor and give it a slight sweetness. I think the problem with most macro lagers is they're using a very cheap, in case of one in particular, they use corn syrup, which is horrible. But it's overused and the quality isn't good. In a beer like this, they're saying it can be used, it can be done right. The nose is very grainy, a little grassy. So it is it poured extremely effervescent, but it calmed down and had a nice head that dissipated rather quickly. Oh, not bad at all. About a 4-pack cans. I had one before I had the chance to do a video for it, before I had a chance to look anything up, and I thought the taste was interesting. So when I finally was able to look it up, then it sort of made sense because I was feeling that corn in there. Because it didn't feel like an all-malt Pilsner. But again, it doesn't feel like an American adjunct lager, neither. It is very light. There's a touch of sweetness. Malts are, a little bready, a little grassy. They use cluster and Tettnang hops. And the reasoning for those two, again, if you read their websites from Upland, is that cluster is one of the oldest American varieties. Tettnang is a traditional German variety, and it was very common for those to be used at the time. Again, they don't lay claim that this is actually a pre-prohibition recipe, more a pre-prohibition style. Are you following me? I think that's the problem, though, with a lot of the beers. I think a lot of them started out to be pretty good. A lot of the brand names that are kind of looked down upon among most of us beer guys, because the quality isn't there. It's just not. The finish is terrible. They're hard to drink. You got to drink them extremely cold or they just feel horrible. But there was a time where you can use the ingredients that were plentiful and still make a quality beer. I think a lot of it comes down to price too. I think most folks that are buying the 30 packs, they're not buying beer for flavor. They're buying for quantity. They're looking for that buzz. Well, whereas most beer geeks like myself, most craft beer geeks, are buying more for quality than quantity. I don't drink as much quantity as some seem to think I do. I drink a few quality beers rather than a whole bunch of quantity. Although I do roam to the dark side occasionally, it's mostly due to nostalgia or sentiment. When I do, recently I bought a 12-pack of Grain Belt for that reason, because that's the beer my dad drank as a youngster. Well, as a young, old enough to drink young man, let's say. I've got an extremely hot day. My wife found this great Pilsner at a Goodwill outlet in St. Louis. And I like it because it holds a pint perfect. I'm guessing it's a 20-ounce glass, because when I poured this pint in there, it went to about there with this much head. And so it was perfect. Holds a pint perfect. And I didn't have a pint Pilsner. Of all the different style glasses I have, I didn't have a pint Pilsner. I've got one it's a 14-ounce Pilsner, which means it holds that 12 ounces perfect with that nice inch head that you want. So anyway, I'm Tom the Beer Whisperer. I don't know what else to tell you about this. It doesn't pack a punch. It doesn't have a lot of flavor, but it is enjoyable, especially on a hot day like this. So we'll see you.